This is Lauren.
This is Trey.
And this
is the Partnership Podcast. Honey, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Partnership Podcast.
What a succinct and clear intro. I hear you fixing us last time. You know what? Listen, last time we were like, blah, blah, blah. We don't have anything to say. And then it turned out to be a ringer of a podcast. Mm-hmm. So well done.
Thanks, babe.
Well done. Thanks for leading us through that. So someone wrote in, and I think this would be a good, quick podcast topic for today, on when we talked about grapefruiting and giving a blowjob and all of the different ways that we could make this blowjob great for the person with the penis. We didn't really hit on what if you don't like giving blowjobs. Maybe you used to give blowjobs because you felt like you had to, and you no longer want to, nor feel comfortable doing so, and feel like you're obligated to. And basically, I think that this audience member was feeling a little like we didn't address the other side, which I feel like is a very truthful statement.
Yeah. And
I am so thankful for an audience that writes in and leaves those comments. And I want to encourage anyone who is watching or listening to always do that. That, as we always say at the end, these are our opinions and our opinions only, but also we are human, and these are little snippets of conversations, and it should be expected that we wouldn't cover every angle of something. So yeah.
That's a really good question.
I think it's a really good question. Yeah. Thoughts?
I've never given a blowjob, so I'd like you to go first.
Okay. So I am guessing that there's a little bit of fear of being cast away if one does not give a blowjob first. So I actually do want to toss a question back to you would that be a no-go? If I looked you in the eyes and said, my dear partner, lover, man, I have been giving blowjobs because I thought I had to, and I can't do it anymore. Would you toss me to the curb?
No.
Oh.
No. Like if you're in a place where it's like something sexually that you don't want to do, or you're in toleration, or what's the upgrade to toleration? Where it's like, I really don't want to do this.
Obligation.
Okay, yeah, they're very close together. If you're in toleration or obligation when it comes to something sexual, that's a big turnoff for me. I don't want you to be in that, so no. I'm not going to toss you to the curb. Same thing for me, where it's like, babe, I really don't like going down on you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fun for me. And is that okay if we don't do that anymore? What would you do?
Toss you to the curb. No, this is a really, really... I didn't think you'd say that.
What did you think I'd say?
That it would need to be a discussion, and that, yeah, isn't that interesting?
I don't want you to do something, especially sexually, that, like, it's not fun for you. That's a turnoff for me. Okay, I'm going to, we got to stay on topic. I'm going to reverse it, where I was dating a woman years and years ago that didn't like oral sex as far as receiving it. She liked giving blowjobs to me, but she didn't like being gone down on. Mm-hmm. And I've always really enjoyed going down on women. And the sex got a little boring after a while.
Do you think it is specifically because of the lack of options on the menu, or do you think that was an indicator of a larger resistance to curiosity and playfulness?
Great question. Okay, going back, where the attraction level as far as the entire package was always like a 6.5. So if it's 5 to get in the game, and 10 is like completely in love, head over heels, dickmatized, pussmatized, it was always like a 6.5. So, and then after a while, there's, okay, all right. There was some issues of like drinking excessively
It's a no-go in your book.
which I've had past trauma.
Yeah.
I had a long-term relationship where it was turning into like a bottle of Chardonnay a night. And that was after that oh, fuck. Okay. All right. Getting back on topic to...
Well, no, it's exactly what I was going to say, though, because I was with a partner once as well who loved to give oral but would not receive oral.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, oh, that's so sweet, especially because of the like historic connectivity to, you know, women being told to get on their knees, this type of subservient sexual thing. So I was like, oh, this is going to be great. No, like what it was a inability to receive. Mm-hmm. What it was this Madonna whore complex that I think this person was a fan of sex work, which is amazing, and would let sex workers provide blowjobs, but not the person he was dating. And so then it was absolutely a sexual discussion. I mean, I didn't have this with him, but now in retrospect, I'm like, well, no wonder in your body, right? There was a lack of integration of my sexuality and a lack of integration of his sexuality. I didn't have the words for it then, but it was an indicator of a larger thing. But let's go back to the giving, the act of doing, right? We always say, because we both went to We Love Consent training, shout out to our friends, that in a sexual encounter, someone is always doing and someone is always being done to. Someone is always giving a gift and someone is always receiving a gift. And in the best sexual encounters, you pass the gift back and forth, like somebody gives a present and then another person gives a present. What is necessary in those encounters is for both parties to be able to give, but also to receive. And so I think, you know, it's interesting hearing Trey and I both having a negative encounter with somebody not wanting oral sex and how that ended up dissolving a relationship. But then when you all just heard and witnessed us talk about it with our relationship, I don't think it would be a no-go with us because there are so many other items on the menu. The sexual menu is large in our relationship. There are so many other things to do. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if I came to you and said, babe, I am really having a hard time with oral sex. I am, you know, dismantling a part of an old belief system. I've always choked. I've always pushed through. I've always endured. I feel uncomfy and it feels derogatory. I think 100% you would say exactly what you said. And then I think I would do the work not for the purpose of giving you a blowjob, but I would do the work to heal that piece of me that had been wounded. And I would want to.
As a teenager, my first couple of blowjobs that I ever received, I didn't enjoy them. And in my 20s, I had this thing in my mind where it's like, if I don't come or if I don't come fast, she's going to think I don't like it or she's going to think that I'm bored. So it was hard for me to receive blowjobs in my 20s because of that. And I'm 40 now, and so I think it took for you, because I've had great blowjobs throughout the years, but like it took for you where I actually had to say this, like, babe, I'm afraid I'm not going to do this, or I'm afraid it's going to take too long. I'm afraid you're going to get tired. So it was a bigger conversation because I had to declare out loud, I had to say out loud my concerns with receiving oral sex from you. And then I had to hear you say, like, you can take as long as you want to. I'll be in my agency where I can stop whenever I want to. You don't have to perform. You don't have to come if you don't want to. You don't have to even stay hard if you don't want to. I'm doing this for me. I was able to finally relax and not maybe be on or not perform. And that was a huge relief. So it's a bigger conversation. And I never, the girl I mentioned before that didn't like oral sex, we never had that conversation. I didn't have those tools at the time, but maybe she had a bad experience. Maybe someone said something negative about her vulva once she was in her mid to late 20s. I've heard of I've heard of someone telling a story of like I in my early 20s I squirted, and I was criticized for it because the partner said, like, you peed on me.
Yes.
And so I held that back for 15 years, 20 years. It was a
yes.
And then so maybe it's a bigger conversation.
So Betty Dodson says that the first principle of pleasure is the freedom of personal choice. And I would say for both the person doing and the one being done to, we must always activate our right to choose. And sometimes that choice is no. Sometimes that choice is only if. Sometimes that choice is yes with limits. Sometimes that choice is not that, but this. Sometimes the choice is not right now. And if we want to experience the incredible highs of pleasure, we must begin with a baseline of choice. If we are being forced to or obligated to or doing it out of fear, we are not going to reach the heights of pleasure, both as the receiver and as the giver. When we take pressure, obligation, misogyny, entitlement, all the things off the table, then it starts to become, like you just so beautifully said, a bigger conversation. Most likely there are negative stories. Most of us are walking around, we say this every time, as a result of positive and negative behaviors, experiences we had with our sexual behaviors when we were younger. We had some positive reinforcements and we had negative reinforcements, and we're all just existing in them now. And my friends, if you have had a negative experience with a blowjob, giving a blowjob, maybe some person didn't wash their penis and forced you to go down on it. Maybe that's what you were told had to happen in like middle school or high school. You deserve to heal through that. You deserve to have a period of absolutely no blowjobs. You deserve to know that you never have to give a blowjob again in your life. Never. Never. And if you have a wonderful partner, they will absolutely honor that. And then if it is something they do truly crave, they've got two options. One is to say, is this something in the future we can revisit again? Or I honor your right to heal. And the way best to protect you and my desire for blowjobs is to perhaps not be in this relationship forever. Is that heartbreaking? Yes, it is. But no one should ever, ever feel forced or coerced to do something sexual. Like, no.
And there can be a renegotiation.
Always.
Where it's, okay, yeah, this happened where, I was, I don't want to be obligated to have you come in my mouth.
Yes.
I would like to take my time. I would like to not be on my knees. I would actually like to be on the bed. I would like your hips up. Oh, okay. So this can all be renegotiated. And it's like, oh, I'd like to set a timer. I'd like to do this for 2 minutes.
Exactly.
And I would like to actually have this be for me, not for the person with the penis.
We've talked about this long ago, but let me expound on what Trey's saying. So in our verbiage, we have a will you do this for me request, and then we have a may I do this for me request. So Trey and I have agreed that all oral sex now, if it's in its juiciest, either comes from Trey saying, will you give me a blowjob for this much, just like this, where then in my agency, I get to really think about, would I be interested in doing that? Am I desirous of providing that thing for you? Okay, so that's one way. The other way is if I want to explore his body, his genitals, his penis for my pleasure. And if that is the case, then it's very little about Trey. He gets to have the indirect route to pleasure. He gets to enjoy it, sure. But it's not about him. It is about me. And that is a wild way, my friends, to rediscover a love for oral sex. Because when I am enjoying his body for my pleasure, I'm not worrying about deep throating. I'm not worrying about some technique. I'm not worrying about gagging like they do in sexy content. I'm just enjoying his penis because I like your body. I like you. I like curiosity. I like play. There is a lot. I mean, you and I tease when we go on our vacation and the porn comes on and we're like, how many seconds is it going to take for his cock to be in her mouth and her tits to be out but not played with, right? There are a lot of blowjobs on mainstream pornography that are all full of gagging, are all full of choking, are all full of so much spit, and they are male-centered and penis-centered. And there's no pleasure for the person with the vulva centered. And that is what so many people, our age at least, grew up witnessing.
Don't try to fuck like it's a porn.
It's entertainment, y'all.
Don't, guys, ladies, you don't try to fuck like it's a porn, okay? Those are sexual athletes. We've said it a lot on here. You don't learn how to drive a car watching Fast and the Furious.
Nope.
It's performative.
Yep.
Don't try to fuck like that. Or if you do, talk about it beforehand.
Yeah.
Because it's weird.
Yeah, make it like a pretend thing that you're going in together. Make it almost kitschy or campy. But that...
Because if one person's in... Generally, it's probably men that do this, where they're trying to fuck like it's a porn. But I've been with women, and it's corny.
I mean... You and I have done these beautiful, taking and allowing exercises recently.
Yeah.
And I told you one of the things that was most eye-opening for me is how performative I am in sex. I mean, so I'd just argue that all of us are still rinsing out. It's like, yeah, like I'm still going through the laundry of rinsing out performative sex. And I think that, yeah, how we see sex, especially oral sex on a penis in mainstream old school porn is really harmful. It just is. Y'all, I really love the platform, and I'll link it below, beducated.com. And on there are some excellent, how to give great oral to a penis or to a vulva educational series is. Watch that. Be amazed at how non-aggressive and scary it all is. But also, as a person who has gone down on penises, some penises can be really stinky. They are not washed. They are not trimmed. And yeah, that it's just expected that someone should go down on a stinky penis is really wild to me. That's gross. It's really gross.
What can we offer wrapping this, kind of putting it all together? This person asked this question of like, I don't like blowjobs. What can we leave them with?
First principle of pleasure is the freedom of personal choice. You never have to give a blowjob again. End of sentence. Might that powerful choice result in a reorganization of your relationship? Yes. And I would argue that it could be the most loving thing you will ever do for yourself and for the other person. So many of the actions that we take inside of relationship are not loving, they're attachment. You do not need to perform blowjobs to stay in relationship. Most likely, there is a person out there for you who would love to never receive a blowjob ever again. I have many male clients who don't like blowjobs. Or like, it's just a silly thing. I'd rather have penetrative intercourse. I would rather kiss and cuddle. I'd rather do manual hand jobs. I'd rather do so many other things. I don't like it. I think that scarcity mindset makes us think that we will never find another person again. I understand where that's coming from. But maybe, just maybe, there's a grander narrative where you choose yourself first. It maybe makes the partner sad and you two uncouple. And maybe, just maybe, that person with a penis starts to do some work too. On, wow, I have only been watching this type of porn and always expecting my lovers to do this. And this one person who said no changed my life forever. I think we so often stop short of the bigger story that could be told because we so long to be in relationship, to be pair bonded, to stay safe. Is that understandable? Fuck yes, it is. But it is not a reason to go against the in your body. That must be honored, and it is our right and responsibility to say no to something we do not wish to do.
All that's very valid and beautiful. Now, is it valid to ask the question, was there a negative experience in my past that I could renegotiate?
Always. And I think it has to come without the pressure. Like we're
To fix
fixing
it,
you.
to solve it.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be solved.
Yeah.
Oh, that takes a lot of pressure. I feel better right now.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, Trey, I really want you to do work on why you don't like oral, like giving oral.
My personality goes to no. Literally in my body, it's like, mind your fucking business. And this is
Yeah.
my wife, my first wife.
Yeah, it can't. Because that feels like you're doing it for another person.
Okay, person who asked the question, let's reframe it then. I would invite you to, if you choose, get curious on if there was something in your past or an experience that negatively impacted this, and if you wanted to get curious about that.
I always say to my clients, we learn the things we're supposed to learn when we're supposed to learn them. And that a trauma-informed care approach is really wild because throughout this lifetime, we are healing enough to do more healing work. And so to the person out there, there is all the time. There is all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you desire to do this work now. Perhaps you'll desire to do it later. Perhaps you'll never desire to do it. And there is fully enough for you in this world. Yes. Is it an opportunity to get curious? Yes. Can we be the sex positive person that we didn't have before who knows how to set limits? Yes. Trey and I are watching the show Adolescence right now. Oh my. Oh my. So many
Streaming on Netflix.
of the sexual
Wild.
behaviors and beliefs and values that we formed at 14 years old.
My blowjob that negatively impacted me for 20 years happened at 15, 16 years old.
Yep. I'm about to have a day full of male-bodied clients.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them has a story like yours.
And I got curious and I said it out loud where it was, I'm afraid I'm not going to be a good lover to you. I'm afraid I'm not going to satisfy you. And then that comes from, then it's like, oh, I need to, then that's performative. And like, there was a lot of pressure that I put on myself, and I was able to unwind that by saying it out loud, which is hard to do because it's vulnerable. But I know now that when I say things out loud that are scary in my body and vulnerable, they become less so. It's still not easy.
No.
But I haven't thought about that once where it's like in years of I need to come or I better be really hard and I better be really turned on. Because you've given me the space to say those things. And you've reaffirmed to me that they don't need to be obligations. And then we have this beautiful practice right now where we're taking and receiving, where I've gone down on Lauren for my pleasure. It's not doing the things that I know feels good for her. It's not with the expectation of making her come. It's really me getting to enjoy her body the way I want to. And then we also have opposite frames where she directs me and instructs me on what feels good, what doesn't, what she wants her to be done. I mean, it's taking work. And it starts with conversations.
Yeah, you hit on the thing that's probably the biggest theme of this podcast, which is these conversations about sex happen best inside a relationship structure that feels safe and secure. The work that we put in to create a safe environment for our partners to come to us, to have hard conversations about all sorts of things, directly connects to our sexual conversations. No one's going to convince me otherwise. If we can't talk about the trash cans and our habits with the dishes and all of the silly things you guys hear us talk about on here, having vulnerable sexual conversations is going to be basically impossible. It may not be a part of the mainstream conversation, and that's okay. But yeah, in our little corner of the internet, it's important over here.
It is today, and it needs to be mainstream.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
These things don't need to be kept in the shadows anymore.
No. I mean, y'all, it's why this business exists, and we'll wrap up on this point. But when I was in sexuality education school, I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. All of this is directly applicable into the whole world. Like, this would change my business practices. This would change how I run my nonprofit organization. This would change how I communicate with my friends. This will change everything. And so when I say so sweetly and constantly to my clients that sex is not everything, it's just a part of everything, this is what I mean. Thanks for coming to this episode of the Partnership Podcast with Lauren and Trey.
Getting down to the buzzer.
Please remember that these are our opinions and our opinions only. Take what you like, leave the rest. Always, always submit your questions. We love discussing them here. And yeah, we're humans and we're going to leave stuff out. Please remember, that you have a right to informed decision making and self-determination. If you want to talk more about these types of things, about having conversations that feel safe and yummy and juicy with your partners, go to sexedforyou.com/free consult and fill out that little form telling me that you heard us on the Partnership Podcast. And yeah, you and I can sit down and chat and see if we'd be a good fit. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.